What is going on, trainers? DrumVillain here, bringing you some more Pokemon Go PvP content, and today we're taking a look at an Ultra Premier Classic team. Now, the original goal with this team was to do something similar to my last team in Open Ultra League, which would be a team that can handle Walrein very comfortably, but I set myself some pretty tough restrictions on that in that I wasn't allowing myself to use Shadow Snorlax, which is easily one of the strongest picks in Ultra Premier Classic at the minute, and I do have one built, but because I used it in the Open Ultra League, I wanted to bring something different for you guys, so I had to sidestep on that. And then I've run out of Stardust. I was building a couple of things. I built this Shadow Lapras, which cost a lot of Stardust, and honestly I'm just out of dust now, and I'm trying to build up more, and there's a few things I've looked at building that I know would work quite well, but I don't have the resources, so I'm working with what I've got, and this is the team that I've come up with. And speaking of the last video, I just want to thank you guys for the love and support you've shown. On that video, it's performed crazy well. At the time of recording this, it's on just over 4,000 views, which is nuts, because if just 1/4 of the people that watch that video were actually subscribed to the channel, I would actually be able to monetize the channel, which is absolutely crazy to me. But the support on that video, like I said, amazing. Thank you guys so much for that. Alright, shifting focus back to today's video, this isn't a Walrein hard counter team. I can't pretend it is, but what it is a team where all three Pokemon on it can cope very well with Walrein and with Trevenant. None of these Pokemon are walled. By those two, none of them lose badly. To those two, in fact, Lapras and Poliwrath can beat both of them. Sylveon can go toe-to-toe with both of them. And what this is really an A-B-B line. Now, I'm going to jump out on a limb and say that this isn't the strongest team for Ultra Premier Classic, but it's performing well for me at over 3,000 ELO. I'm going positive with it rather than negative, and that means that it's a pretty solid team, at least, even if it's not the most meta that it could be. There are a couple of Pokemon that I can think of right off the bat that would immediately hard shut down this entire team, and you'll see what happens when we run into something like a Magnezone lead later on. With all that said, let's take a proper look at the team and show you guys what's going on with it. So, on the lead, we've got Sylveon. Now, the reason I'm choosing Sylveon over Togekiss is because of Walrein, really. Just because Togekiss loses badly to that ice damage, Sylveon can tank quite a lot of hits, it's very bulky, charm damage is relentless, and Psyshock gives nice coverage against poison types which are running around in the Ultra Premier Classic. In the back, we've got Shadow Lapras. Now, this is a non-XL Shadow Lapras, but it is pretty decent PvP IV. It was expensive to build, and I hadn't got round to Elite TMing it to have Ice Beam, so it had Skull Bash anyway. It was already double moved, but I did have to power it up, which, like I said, very, very expensive. But it's got Ice Shard, Surf, and Skull Bash so that it can hit Walrein for big neutral damage. The Ice Shards can take out a Trevenant as well. Lapras can very much go toe-to-toe with Trevenant, which is very, very surprising. And then in the back, we've got Shadow Poliwrath. Not just any Shadow Poliwrath, a 100% IV Shadow Poliwrath. Now, Poliwrath doesn't have to be a hundo for the Ultra League Premier Classic, but it does need to be close to not be XL. And neither of these Pokemon need to be Shadow variants. You can use regular Lapras and regular Poliwrath if you want. But there are a couple of advantages damage-wise that the Shadows give you, such as 2 Ice Punches from a Shadow Poliwrath really threaten Crobat, whereas Crobat can very comfortably take 2 Ice Punches from a non-Shadow variant. So, if you enjoy the content, like the video, consider subscribing, and let's take a look at this absolutely horrendous lead, Nidoqueen against our Sylveon. We're going to say swap Lapras because Lapras is the say swap of choice, and we pull out an Obstagoon counter swap. This sounds already like an immediate loss, right? We got a hard punish to Sylveon on the lead. We got a pretty tough punish to Lapras in the back. But here's the thing about Shadow Lapras is it can threaten most things in the say swap position. Look how hard this surf hits. Boom! I mean, it's not ridiculous damage, but what this does mean is that if they let this second surf through, is that I can shield up and farm down and take switch advantage. So Lapras in a lot of situations can force shield advantage for you. Even against Escavalier, the second surf will KO and will get a shield for you, which is absolutely nuts. If they throw a drill run, you will survive and you will be able to get the second surf off. That's absolutely bananas. Now, we're going to bring in Sylveon since we've got shield advantage, and we're going to farm down and then swap straight out to Poliwrath. And what we're hoping to do here is to get the last shield out of this opponent and then land a Psyshock on Nidoqueen from Sylveon, because that coverage move is going to do massive damage. And what have they got in the back? It's a Walrein, and this is exactly what Poliwrath loves to see. Boom! Walrein gets absolutely a broken jaw from Poliwrath there, punching his tusks clean off, absolutely monstrous damage. And now he's pretty much just in straight Ice Punch range at this point to actually build up extra energy. so we can threaten the Nidoqueen as well and force that shield out of them. It doesn't quite KO because it's not a Shadow Walrein, but we're going to let this go. It doesn't matter what it is. We believe it's just an Icicle Spear. Yet we already shielded up the Earthquake. Now, ideally, we want the shield for Sylveon to make sure that it gets to the Psyshock, but it does depend on this Nidoqueen and how much energy it throws and when. Now we get 2 Ice Punches off. This is absolutely huge because of the energy advantage. It means we're not getting debuffed by a Poison Fang. Straight away we force that last shield, and now we're waiting for them to throw some energy. We're not going to shield this, we're going to let it go, and we're going to swap straight to Sylveon before the Nidoqueen gets a chance to build up any more energy. We've got a shield to block at least 1 Poison Fang, and then hopefully we can make it to this Psyshock. It's going to be a little bit close, and you can see that Poison Jab damage is really adding up, but we're going to make it to the Psyshock. This is going to absolutely annihilate Nidoqueen, and we're going to take that win against an absolutely horrendous line, and it included Walrein. What more proof do you need that it can handle Walrein? Now, I may have spent over 300,000 dust on the Lapras for this video, but Poliwrath is absolutely clutching so many matchups. Now let's take a look at one with a Walrein lead and see what this opponent decides to do. Now, there are a lot of ways to play this out because the entire team handles Walrein, so you're not really scared of it being lined up with anything in the back, but also the only real hard punish we have on the team for it is probably Poliwrath. Now, they actually swap out to a Trevenant, so we've got the Walrein Trevenant core in this team, so we're going to throw a Psyshock, do a nice big chunk of damage and bring in Lapras, and look at how much those Ice Shards are doing. It is absolutely chunking. We don't need to shield this, doesn't matter if it's a Seed Bomb or a Shadow Ball. We'll do a reasonably sized chunk, but we can just farm down entirely with Ice Shard because it just hits that hard. Shadow Lapras is not to be underestimated when those Ice Shards are super effective. Walrein's going to come back in and we're going to go for the Skull Bash, which forces the Walrein to throw energy. We don't mind this. If it's an Icicle Spear bait, we would survive, but it is the Earthquake and will take us out. And now we can line Poliwrath up with the Walrein, and this turns out to be a misjudgment because this opponent actually has a Nidoqueen in the back, which makes sense. They swapped out of the Walrein, which had a neutral matchup with Sylveon, so they obviously had a harder counter to Sylveon in the back that they wanted to line up with it, and this was a bit of a misjudgment on my part. I should have brought Sylveon back into this matchup rather than Poliwrath, and we see it come out now, and now we panic a little bit because we're like, crap, we need Poliwrath to deal with this Nidoqueen, and we should have put Sylveon into the to the Walrein, so we're just going to commit into Poliwrath, potentially sweeping this game, or at least dealing with this Nidoqueen. We'll let the first Poison Fang go through us, it'll do the least damage. We'll shield up the next one because we probably need to survive one more to get the next Ice Punch off to take this Nidoqueen out. And again, Shadow Poliwrath, as you can see, 2 Ice Punches as well as the Mud Shots, absolutely annihilate a Nidoqueen. Nidoqueen's down to around a third of its HP already, which is fantastic for us. We get a third Ice Punch off that's going to finish them off, and now we're going to bring in Sylveon and just hope he's got enough health to finish off this Walrein. Generally, it's a little bit more comfortable if you've got one shield to commit into this matchup with Sylveon against Walrein. This is going to be close. We might have to try and make it to the Psyshock. We just make it, and I think the Walrein might have had a bit more energy, but they might have been conscious of how much the Poliwrath had. But we're happy to take the win either way against the Walrein Trevenant core, and with misreading the back of their line and potentially getting a Nidoqueen lined up with our damn Sylveon. Alright, speaking of poisons lined up with Sylveon, we've got a Crobat lead, and in this situation you're going to safe swap Poliwrath rather than Lapras. Lapras is a much harder punish in general because the Ice Shard fast move damage adds up a lot more. And what we actually notice is this Crobat is staying in, which means they might be weak to Poliwrath in the back. They might have a Walrein back there, they might have something else that struggles with fighting or ice type damage, but you can see that one Ice Punch and the Mud Shots gets them below half health, which is absolutely crazy. We've got shield advantage from this. We're going to shield up this Poison Fang just because we're so close to another Ice Punch. We feel like we can force a second shield or switch advantage here, and we get the second shield and we CMP tie. So absolutely this is the golden scenario for them staying in, really, is getting the shields, they undercharge and get one more air slash worth of energy on us. But this isn't too bad because our switch timer is now up, so the Crobat has to stay in or risk giving up the switch advantage that they fought for here if they want to see this matchup through. They throw a Poison Fang and they choose to swap out to the Walrein. There it is. Now, we were tempted to build up and go for the Skull Bash, but we were already defense debuffed. We didn't want to feel pressured to shield an Icicle Spear, which would have been a very obvious bait for the opponent to do there. and we figure we might as well use up Sylveon here against the Walrein rather than potentially get it locked against that Crobat, because it would really struggle in that matchup. We're not going to shield Sylveon, we're just going to spend it here. We're going to make this Walrein dump all this energy into us. We're going to just make it to a Side Shock to get them nice and low. And we're just hoping that Lapras with a 1 shield advantage can take out whatever's also hiding in the back of this team. Now you're going to see what happens in this matchup. We're a little bit conscious of the Walrein getting to a move, so we just throw the Surf straight away, take it out. And what is it in the back that they decide to bring in? They're waiting out their switch timer. It's an Escavalier, right? We've lost, surely, of course. No, you underestimate Shadow Lapras. They try to catch a move on their Crobat. We farm down entirely and we've got 2 Surfs to throw at the Escavalier. And even if they hadn't have messed up that safe swap, we've got nearly 3 Surfs actually. We got another Surf and then almost a third one. We might have been able to just deal this much damage anyway, but 2 Surfs takes out Escav, gives us the win. GG. Alright, let's jump on into matchup number 4. Sora here is going to bring a Luxray lead, and we're kind of happy to see this on the lead just because we're running double water in the back, so we definitely don't want to see those guys lined up with this thing. And the one saving grace really about a Luxray matchup is how squishy it is. The charms are really adding up. We take the Wild Charge pretty comfortably. We were potentially expecting a Psychic Fangs bait. We really didn't want to shield up a Psychic Fangs, so we decided, you know, not shield, we could take a Wild Charge either way, it will be fine. And they actually swap out into a Walrein, which brilliant for Poliwrath. We can get Poliwrath on this thing. We're not going to shield up the Earthquake, doesn't matter. We can survive that comfortably. And the misjudgment here again is going for the Ice Punch rather than straight for another Dynamic Punch. Now what we wanted really was to either take out this Walrein with too much health for the Luxray to farm us down, so they had to throw a move, or with as little health as possible. So you're going to see here we stop attacking just for a couple of fast moves and then throw and finish off the Walrein so that the Luxray will only get 1 spark of energy from us when it comes back in, because the last thing we need is that Luxray having a more dramatic energy advantage. Now we're going to get to this Side Shock, force the shield or take out this Luxray and see what they decide to do. Luxray is going to struggle to spark us down here, but it could have a good go at it if it really was willing to... No, we'd have charmed it down first. It's just far too squishy. We take that move, bring in Lapras for the farm down, and this is worth a shield. It could be a Wild Charge. This is an opportunity where a lot of people would throw a Psychic Fangs bait just to drop our stats, but they do go for the big move. But it's irrelevant because there's a Poliwrath in the back on their team. The only way we can win this game is landing a Skull Bash. So the obvious play here is that we would bait with a Surf and then go for the Skull Bash. So we decide, no, we're trying to bait you here. Don't shield this, it's fine, and they shield up, which is really unfortunate. But also you're going to see that Shadow Lapras can comfortably survive a Dynamic Punch, and it can survive this without the Skull Bash boost, but obviously that does help it quite substantially. And we're going to CMP tie on the next Skull Bash. They're going to get to 1 more Dynamic Punch and they are going to take us out and take that win. So despite catching the Electric type on the lead, that Poliwrath in the back is pretty tough to deal with, and just goes to show how effective it can be against certain lines. Okay, this trainer's bringing the Trevenant lead, which, as we've said, the whole team can do quite okay against, and this opponent swaps out into a Wing Attack Charizard, and we were very slow on swapping to Lapras. We did maybe 2 more charms before we swapped out, and this puts us in an awkward position because Wing Attack's quite good for generating energy. It's slightly faster energy than Fire Spin, but slightly lower damage, but it does mean that they're going to be able to get to 2 Blast Burns at the same time we get to 2 Surfs. If we'd have swapped into Lapras 1 charm quicker, we would have made it to this Surf first and forced the second shield, or forced Switch Advantage before we took that huge chunk of Blast Burn damage. But we're going to take that, that's comfortable, that's fine. We're going to get rid of this Charizard, we've got Switch Advantage, and I suppose, like we say, Poliwrath does okay against Trevenant, but also it's not the most ideal matchup. This opponent brings in a Typhlosion, so they're running Trevenant double fire strategy, which is a little unfortunate for them being up against our Sylveon double water strategy, but also this Typhlosion has thrown 4 Incinerates, and 4 Incinerates is enough energy for a Solar Beam. So we shield the beam, thank the Lord, and Trevenant swaps back in. Now we don't throw an Ice Punch because what we want to do is have energy to get to Dynamic Punches against the Typhlosion to take it out, and also we need to spend Sylveon here Because the way we'd lose this game is if we took out Trevenant with Sylveon with enough health that the Typhlosion can farm us down, get to another Solar Beam and one-shot Poliwrath. So the Typhlosion gets one Incinerate worth of energy on Sylveon there. We're going to throw 2 Mud Shots because that's the most you can throw inside one Incinerate, and then throw the Dynamic Punch and massive damage, and we take them out. We take that game. GG. So despite 2 poison leads against our Charmer, and both those games we won and losing to an electric lead, because that's just the way that the cookie crumbles, we're able to take a 4-1 with the team. Absolutely fantastic performance. I'm going to show you guys a couple more battles now to show you what the team can do, as well as what happens when we run into a Magnezone lead. Alright, this next match I wanted to show you guys is just because it was such an interesting team concept by this opponent. They've got a Blaziken lead, which is pretty good for us because the Charms are going to do neutral. We don't want to see this against Lapras because it does have counter as a fast move that would absolutely smash Lapras to pieces, as well as it resisting the ice damage. They throw a Brave Bird and swap out into Typhlosion. So we're going to bring in Poliwrath here. There's an argument to be made for bringing in Lapras instead, but I decide Poliwrath's a good shout because the Mud Shots are super effective. We only have to land 1 Dynamic Punch to KO, and also we outpace Typhlosion massively because they have to go for Solar Beams to threaten us. So we get the Dynamic Punch through, take them straight out. We have now gone down both shields very, very early in this game. So we're going to go straight for the Dynamic Punch. We're going to go for the KO or getting that first shield out of them. They do let it go through, so they're committing everything into their last Pokemon, that is a Charizard. So they're running triple fire on their team, and we're running double water. But also, we have gone down 2 shields very, very early. And also, Lapras doesn't actually resist fire damage because it's part Ice type. So we're going to swap into Lapras and get that last shield as fast as possible before the Charizard can farm down Poliwrath and get a bigger energy lead. Now the main thing is will we survive this Blast Burn to get this Surf off? We should. Lapras is tanky, massive damage, but we do survive, and we're going to be able to take this game. But just wanted to give a shout out to this opponent because fantastic team triple fire, and I bet that's working out quite well for them actually, even at that ELO range. Alright, last matchup I show you guys before the dreaded Magnezone, and we get a Toxicroak lead. That's a pretty solid lead for Sylveon because you're resisting the counters. They have to go for Sludge Bomb to threaten you, and you can do massive damage in the meantime. They swap out into a Snorlax. Very great save swap in general for the Ultra Premier Classic. If you have one, it's worth using, especially the Shadow variant. And we're going to go Poliwrath just to really shut this thing down. The Dynamic Punch is going to do massive damage. It doesn't quite one-shot, which says a lot for Snorlax's bulk, but also it does mean now we can just go for a nice punch to finish them off nice and quickly. They don't shield up. Toxicroak's going to come in and farm us down, and this is kind of scary because this will give them energy for a Sludge Bomb. We don't mind this anyway though, because Poliwrath can put quite a bit of work in. The Ice Punch would do a nice chunk of damage, and we were expecting to have to give up a shield on Sylveon anyway for this matchup just to shield up a Sludge Bomb. So we're glad we got a shield out of them. We don't mind returning that shield, and let's see what they've got in the back. It's a Shadow Walrein. So we got Shadow Lapras versus Shadow Walrein. The Water Ice boys are here to duke it out, and let's see what they decide to do. Are they going to go straight for the Earthquake? We're guessing they're going to go for an Icicle Spear. It's not, it's an Earthquake. It does big damage. We're going to go straight for the Skull Bash because we want the shield. The logic at this point is that if we get this shield, which we do, is that Sylveon can farm down this Walrein anyway and then get to a Psyshock on the Toxicroak, and we won't need to have won this matchup to win the game. And also a lose condition was that we give up shields in this matchup, Toxicroak farms down the Lapras and then can get to a Sludge Bomb against Sylveon. So although Lapras can beat Walrein, especially if you're willing to match shields, like if you're willing to shield an Earthquake, you're in a very strong position in general for that matchup. A win condition for us here involved actually not shielding up, soft losing that matchup and farming down with Sylveon to get a Psyshock that's double super effective and annihilates Toxicroak. GG. Alright, to finish off the video, you guys want to see a Magnezone lead, right, and how much work it's going to put in. And also, this is one of the only trainers I battled with this team that wasn't already a Legend rank, so shout out to them. I hope you managed to hit Legend rank. And here we go, Magnezone. The first mistake we make is swapping out in general. The only non-resisted fast move damage we have on the team is Poliwrath, so we might as well have stayed in with Sylveon and made them think that maybe we had one Pokemon that was weak to Magnezone rather than all three. Now we are building up to 2 Surfs, which means they can force a second shield out of us. This again, another mistake. We should have thrown one of the Surfs earlier to pressure potentially getting a shield out of them sooner. Now they can swap out without any energy being thrown at the Magnezone, so we don't force a shield at all. They bring in a Gyarados, we're going to go straight for the Skull Bash, and this is going to do big damage if it goes. In fact, it'll take out the Gyarados if it goes unshielded. Boom, it does. And we're not actually in a better position for that, because the Magnezone can come back in. We're shielded down. Magnezone can already now in this position sweep the entire team. It can wild charge the Poliwrath. It can mirror shot Sylveon into oblivion. It is absolutely running rampant. What you want to do, if you run into a Magnezone lead with this team, and this is the only one that I saw, but you want to stay in with Sylveon. Charm will add up over time. Magnezone is rather squishy, and even though it's resisted, you can put in a lot of work, get them fairly low, and bring in Poliwrath after, and ideally maybe farm them down a little bit with Mudshot, who knows, but you're going to be in a better position than swapping out to Lapras like I did here and getting absolutely annihilated. One shot's Poliwrath, they've got a Crobat, but there's nothing we can do, we're just going to quit. Yeah, we're going to give the opponent that win, not that we had much choice about it. So that's the team, guys. Double Water putting some serious work in against the current meta. Let me know down below what you think of the team. Don't forget to dynamic punch the subscribe button if you haven't already. If you already have, you're an absolute legend, and I will catch all you guys next time.